The Tower of Endless Dawn. On the farthest edge of the horizon stood a tower that seemed to touch the sky. The villagers called it the Tower of Endless Dawn, for legend said the sun never set at its peak. Most people avoided it, believing it cursed, for travelers who went near often returned dazed, saying they lost track of time or never came back at all. The friends, however, could not resist their curiosity. One evening, as the sky burned with colors of gold and crimson, they set out across the wide plains to see the tower for themselves. The closer they walked, the stranger the air became. When at last they stood at the base of the tower, they craned their necks upward. The great wooden doors groaned open at their touch, and they stepped inside. The interior was filled with a spiral staircase, winding upward into infinity. On the walls hung glowing panels that showed not paintings, but moving images. Sunrises in different places, mountains and seas bathed in morning light. The air was warm, carrying the scent of dew and fresh blossoms. After a long climb, they reached a hall where the floor was covered in golden sand. In the center sat a man cloaked in radiant light, his face hidden. His voice rang like 1,000 dawns at once. "You have entered the Tower of Endless Dawn," he said. "But dawn is not eternal. It has been stolen." The friends frowned. "Stolen? How can someone steal dawn?" The figure lifted a hand, and the walls of the hall shimmered with visions. They saw a dark figure carrying a lantern, filled with swirling red fire. Wherever it went, the morning light dimmed, and people remained trapped in sleepless twilight. "This thief of ours has taken the flame of morning," the radiant man explained. "Without it, dawn cannot rise beyond the tower, and the world will sink into endless night." The friends agreed to help. The man raised his staff, and a doorway of pure light opened before them. Beyond lies the twilight plains, where the thief wanders. But be careful, he feeds on weariness. The longer you walk in his land, the heavier your steps will become. They entered the plains and immediately felt it. The air was heavy, the sky a dull red, and no wind stirred the grass. At last they saw him. The thief stood in the middle of the plain, his lantern glowing with stolen light. His cloak was woven from shadows, his eyes sharp like burning coals. "Why do you chase me?" he asked, voice like smoke. "The night is peaceful. Why force the world to wake?" The thief snarled. "They waste their mornings. They complain. They hurry. They forget. Why should I return what they do not cherish?" The friends thought for a moment, then spoke together. "Maybe people forget sometimes, but every new dawn is a chance to remember, to try again. If you keep the flame, you'll lock the world in despair. But if you return it, you'll give them hope." The thief wavered. For a moment, his lantern dimmed. But then he shook his head, clutching it tighter. "No, it belongs to me now." The friends gathered their courage. One stepped forward and lit a small candle from their satchel. Another raised a mirror to reflect what little light was left in the sky. And another began to sing softly. Their small light and sound spread across the plain, chasing away the gloom. The thief staggered back, his lantern flickering. At last, with a cry, he dropped it, and the flame burst free, rising high into the air. The world shifted. The plains filled with golden light, the sky brightened, and birds began to sing. The thief dissolved into smoke, carried away by the wind. The friends picked up the lantern, now filled not with fire, but with warm morning light, and carried it back through the doorway. The radiant man took it gently. "You have restored the flame of morning," he said. "Because of you, dawn will return to every corner of the world." They climbed with him to the very top of the tower, where the sun waited just beneath the horizon. He placed the lantern high upon a pedestal, and at once the light spilled out in all directions. The sun rose in a blaze of gold and crimson, brighter than any they had ever seen. For the first time, They understood why this place was called the Tower of Endless Dawn. It held the promise of beginnings for everyone. When they returned to the plains, the tower stood quiet again, its doors closed. The villagers never believed their tale. But from that day on, the friends greeted every sunrise with wonder, remembering the time they carried dawn back to the world.